It's time for a response video. Well, reaction more correctly, I suppose, as I'm not really responding to anything, although I kind of feel like I am. See, the video we're going to watch today purports to present a counter-argument to gatekeeping, and I am, well, largely one of the uncredited sources of the idea of gatekeeping. So, yeah, I've talked about the idea quite a lot and done some fair few videos on the topic, so, you know, when it gets debated, I kind of want to lean into it, don't I? Especially as pretty much every time I've brought up the idea of gatekeeping with a progressive, they haven't actually really ever argued against it. Largely, in fact, they've simply admitted that, yes, no, we infiltrated your hobbies, yes, we tried to exclude you, yes, we are continuing to try to exclude you by colluding with companies, with anyone and everyone can get a hold of and shutting you out of the forums, even indeed inventing straight-up laws to try and get rid of you. But don't you dare do the same to us! That's cheating! Yeah, I even had a debate on it a few months ago that has been taken down over usual copyright nonsense, but anyways, the debate was, is gatekeeping good? We never actually debated that topic because we settled in the first 5 minutes by both agreeing that, yeah, gatekeeping is good. The only disagreement was over the target. So, having the potential access to an actual counter-argument is to me rather intriguing, and again, I do like the idea of response videos. The potential exchange of thoughts and theories has always appealed to me, even if the genre of response video and the internet at large has never quite lived up to the haughty expectations of the idea of the internet as a platform for scientific thought, etc. Which, by the way, was one of the original intents of the creation of the internet, but let's not get into too much of a history lesson here. So, let's have a listen, shall we? Now, I also want to just make clear, by the way, this is a smaller channel, and I'm not taking a shot here. I am genuinely interested in the arguments. I have not watched this yet. Let's go.
There's this phrase I see floated around on the internet all the time, and it's usually stated by passionate people who believe they're coming from a place of defense for a franchise or a fandom or a hobby that they truly care about, you know? The phrase is, gatekeep your hobbies.
Correct. Gatekeep, gatekeep, gatekeep. If you wish to actually retain anything, you gotta do it. Simple as.
And I don't want to upset any of you, but that sounds really stupid. Okay, let's talk about it.
I feel as if we're poisoning the well a little bit already, but we'll chalk it up to humor.
Welcome to The Pondering. I am the real-life fake wizard. If this video brings you any value at all, I invite you to subscribe to this channel where we're posting new videos nearly every day. In a time where every single imaginable franchise has been infiltrated by the 5 people ruining entertainment: corporate managers, marketing professionals, influencers, journalists, and writers.
Influencers? Corporate managers. Well, I mean, to be sure, these things have done some damage to entertainment, certainly, but it pales in comparison to the damage done by ideology. I mean, we can debate about the influence of greed upon the creative process. Hell, we saw quite a bit of that back in the 2000s, for example, the early 2000s, with constant, re-releases and various other things, but again, all of these are really small fish compared to the greatest danger of them all, which is the ideological capture of these companies, turning them into, well, propaganda devices.
Entertainment just doesn't feel the same anymore. Many beloved franchises have had their hearts kali-ma torn out of them and replaced by paint-by-numbers mediocrity. Sometimes this is rooted in
God, I wish it was merely mediocrity. Unironically, I've been watching some old media again recently, and what we considered mediocre back then, oh god, it's so much better than what we have today.
Political ideologies. Sometimes it's rooted in malevolence towards the fans, and sometimes, and I'd like to believe this more often than not, it's rooted in absolute sheer incompetence. People are promoted to positions they never, ever should have been promoted to.
Now, to be fair to Kathleen Kennedy here, it is important also to remember that Kathleen Kennedy is like one of the most successful producers ever, pretty much. If you actually look into what she's worked on, things like E.T., for example, you begin to realize exactly why Disney decided to give her charge of the entirety of Star Wars, in essence. Not to mention, of course, that she had a very close working relationship with George Lucas. In hindsight, she turned out to not be the correct choice for the role, but it makes sense why they did it.
There is a lot of unqualified people getting work they're not ready for, but also a tremendous amount of failing upwards in the industry. You take a guy like James Mangold here. Now, Mangold did Logan, and that was pretty good. I have a deep disgust for the Fox X-Men films as a Marvel Comics X-Men fan.
You know, I rewatched them recently, not that long ago. They're not good. They're not good. They're not as bad as I remember, but they're not good.
But overall, Logan was good. And then he gets Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny. And it's a complete failure in every possible way imaginable. Financially, culturally, the branding was bad. Mangold even took to Twitter to argue with fans, which is never a good idea.
Oh yes, and one more time, no one is taking over or replacing Indy or donning his hat, nor is he being erased through some contrivance. And he never was. Well, I suppose... I don't think that was true either. And this is a good point as well. Yeah, no, there's a lot of people in the industry that they fail upwards through personal connections, largely, knowing the right people, you know, rubbing elbows with the correct crowd. I see another person who should have failed long since over there to the right, for example.
And then, instead of recognizing this failure and someone saying, Mr. Mangold, you're done with legacy properties, go do the Bob Dylan movie instead where you're probably better suited, Lucasfilm hands him the origin film of the entire Star Wars Jedi mythos. Yeah. And then he basically says he's gonna do his own thing. Quote, I'm not that interested in being handcuffed by so much lore. Sure, the context is to explain why he's going like 50,000 years into the Star Wars past, but a statement like that makes me think you're gonna throw away more George Lucas canon.
Now, you know what? The origins of the Jedi could actually be really interesting if you did it well and sophisticatedly, but... well, let's not even go down that path. It's never going to happen, so why bother talking about it? We haven't gotten Gatekeeping yet.
Stories like this every other month or so, but for every imaginable franchise that you could think of. Look, Netflix is doing a Narnia series of films with Greta Gerwig, and she said her inspiration is based in rock and roll.
Because why not? They're rebooting The Little House on the Prairie too, by the way. That's gonna go real well, I have no doubt.
Now, I don't know, maybe if you're doing a C.S. Lewis adaptation, you read up on Christianity, because that's what Narnia was inspired by. Aslan the Lion is a Jesus Christ analogy, not Pink Floyd rock and roll. And so fans of these properties take to social media and call out all of the atrocities committed against the things they love. A lot of the criticism on Star Wars, on Doctor Who, Rings of Power, Star Trek, they're all rooted in a love for the franchise.
Yes, correct. I mean, if nobody cared, they wouldn't bother committing hours to studying it or finding out what actually is wrong with it or getting involved in the pushback against poor quality products.
That's something that's not really talked about enough. All the haters that hate on corporate media franchise product, they're only hating because of how much they care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't be talking about it at all. But okay, that takes us into this gatekeeping discussion, because some of those passionate people say we need to gatekeep our hobbies.
Yes. Gatekeep it or lose it. Simple as.
Well, what does gatekeeping even mean?
Okay. Gatekeeping is very simple. It can be summed up quite easily, in fact, with, a couple of sentences. Join the hobby, go inside. Change the hobby, stay outside. That's pretty much it. Now, on a broader scale, what this actually means is that you work to change the culture surrounding the hobby, and the culture surrounding, well, everything in general. That's the thing. You cannot simply just boycott a product and go like, no, don't purchase that, because it's very rarely effective, and it requires a far larger control over far larger masses than is usually realistic to succeed in doing. However, if you do like what I am doing and what countless other people are doing, go to the airwaves, create entertainment, create commentary explaining this is why this is bad, this is why we should move away from it, here is the alternative, we labor to change the very culture that this entertainment exists in. This is a far more powerful solution, say for example, than the old voting with your wallet, because it requires far more coordination. Whereas here, we can actually lay the blame as to why Star Wars is bad on larger cultural institutional forces. We can target the people creating the bad entertainment. We can target the reasons why they create that bad entertainment, rather than merely just, slapping their hands ineffectually for one bad product. That is the larger thing. It is changing culture to see better entertainment.
According to one of the many mental health websites,
why would you look up Gatekeep? Proceed.
Gatekeeping is defined as someone who takes it upon themselves to decide who does or does not have access or rights to a community or ideology.
Identity, not ideology, but yes, no, you could call it that, I suppose, but again, it oversimplifies the matter quite significantly. As I've talked about on multiple occasions, it's not possible to be standing outside of a Games Workshop store and, scanning people for their identity, etc. It's not going to work, which is why, again, it's the changing of the culture rather than any attempt to, keep people away from a particular entity.
So, hypothetically, this looks like someone saying, "Hey, I really liked Star Wars The Last Jedi." And you replying with, "You're not a real fan. Real fans hate The Last Jedi. Here's a 90-minute dissertation on why you're wrong and I'm right. Get out of my fandom."
Yeah, it can be. It absolutely can be. Look at The Last Jedi as an example, for example. Example for an example. My vocabulary sometimes. What did it add to Star Wars overall? What contributions did it make? Was it a worthwhile entry into the wider universe of Star Wars? The majority of people would say no. It deprived Finn, for example, of a moment to really hammer out a position for himself in the Star Wars franchise. He had an opportunity to selflessly sacrifice himself in a blaze of glory to rescue his friends. It was a potentially amazing setup and a fantastic send-off for a character that Disney had no goddamn plans for whatsoever, which is in and of itself an enormous shame for a turncoat stormtrooper. God, you could do so much with that, but they did not. Instead, that random Asian chick decides to take away his opportunity for a glorious end, a brilliant last stand of saving his friends, and then mouth-raping him. And then not bringing this up again ever since. I don't think they actually got together in the other movies. I mean, he was still kind of chasing Rey's tail in the third one, right? Not to mention, of course, the killing of Luke Skywalker. Or the deep freeze of Princess Amidala. Amidala? No. God, I am messing up my Star Wars, aren't I? I am. Awfully embarrassing considering what we're just talking about here, but the overall point is, The Last Jedi didn't really do much for Star Wars overall. Beyond visuals, I will say that the battle on the Salt Flats was absolutely beautiful. No doubt about it, no question whatsoever. But is that enough? Is that enough for killing off Luke Skywalker? Replacing him with Rey, of all people? Of throwing out the entirety of Jedi canon in practice? Like, oh, what a Yoda showing up like, phew, stuffy old books, page turners they were not, burn our traditions to the ground. And instead replacing it with Rey? Yeah. So again, yes, I've wandered off on quite the little rant there, but yeah, no, as a topic, it absolutely can be. You liked that, okay, why did you like it? And the reason is probably going to be really, really bad, and probably not have much to do with Star Wars. There could, of course, be exceptions, but yeah, no, that is a fairly large red flag.
Guys, I don't like The Last Jedi. And The Last Jedi is going to be a recurring theme here in this video, so stick around. I sat in the theater and closed my eyes when Luke Skywalker died because I couldn't handle the idea of them butchering my hero like that any further.
See, I'd already lost most of my soul by that point. I just laughed. It's like, I remember the disbelief. It was only triumphed by somehow Palpatine returned. I was just like, he's just dead? No great send-off, no glorious last end, he just poofs into the ether.
I was heartbroken. Experiencing The Last Jedi, I could tell you, was more heartbreaking than when I dumped my post-college girlfriend. Okay, very upsetty, Luke Skywalker was worse.
Don't worry. Your heart will harden.
Girl was just a freak, dude. But okay, so gatekeeping is just another form of bullying? Is that...
Yeah. You could absolutely define it as such if you wish, because the end goal is to get certain people out of the hobby, but, well, we're somewhat flipping the script here, aren't we? Gatekeeping didn't begin within the fandom settings, within geekdom. In fact, it was exactly the opposite. When I was first entering into 40k, for example, which was my first proper geekdom hobby, everyone was incredibly welcoming. I have never seen a more welcoming hobby. No one was ever excluded. Everyone was excited, like, oh my god, 40k? Fantastic, let's talk about it. It was unbelievably welcoming. I mean, hell, even as a kid, I was growing up with video games, going like, God, I wish video games were popular so I wouldn't be bullied for liking them. And now that it has become popular, well, we realize the error of our ways, as the open gate policy led to a lot of people with very, very nefarious intentions coming into our hobbies and beginning to take them over from the inside. Not with any intent to make them better or to share them with other people, but the exact opposite. The ideology of inclusion has become exclusionary. These people were the ones who started pushing people out. Again, the topic I bring up every time. When I was getting into Games Workshop, there were no signs on the GW store saying, no gays, no blacks or women allowed. It was unheard of. It would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely insane. But then the progressives got in control, and suddenly it was, if you don't agree, you will not be missed. The inclusionary left is the single most exclusionary movement that we have seen in a very, very long time. These people were the ones that initiated this conflict. They were the ones who moved into our spaces and said, you're not welcome here anymore. For us to then go, okay, well, screw you. I don't like you anymore. Leave. I will fight you now. That's not bullying. That's self-defense.
Like bullying on behalf of your hobbies? Because I could also follow up by saying I have very close friends who adored The Last Jedi, and some of them can recite Star Wars lore back to me like it's the ABCs. And these are people who've been there for me in some of my darkest hours, like ever, like in my entire life. But because we disagree on this factor in a hobby, I'm supposed to gatekeep them?
No? Am I? No. Argument from emotion, don't look too deeply into it. When I come up with an ironclad rule that has no exceptions, that is the absolute truth that can be applied to any scenario without flaw and remain equally valid, I will tell you, but until then, I will have to rely on your own mental capacities to figure out when somebody should be kept out of something and when they should not. If your friends are simply guilty of liking a bad movie, then, well, shit, that's hardly a reason to exclude them. Now, if they are then moving in and going, hey, I would like to change all of Star Wars to be like The Last Jedi, then we might have a problem, yes. But no, not everything is equal. I myself, for example, my guilty pleasure of last year was Has Been Hotel. Thoroughly. Dyed in the wool progressive show to the point where it becomes a parody of itself. And yet, the sheer passion with which it was created, the obvious love that the creator had for their product, I don't know, it's just something about that I can't quite bring myself to hate.
Where is the line on gatekeeping your hobby? Who's the paragon of virtue to tell us what must be gatekept?
That's simple. Me. I am the paragon of virtue that tells you what is to be gatekept. I am that man. Me. What? You don't agree? You dislike that? Well, too goddamn bad. I have declared myself to be the paragon of virtue, and so I am on my channel going to further my view on what should and should not be gatekept, because that is the only power any of us have, to present our argument to the world and go, okay, this is what I believe. This is why I believe this is a woke property. This is why I believe that's a bad thing. This is why I believe that you should not like it either, and why you yourself should champion for change. And then everybody else does, well, the exact same thing. See, if we were to simply, again, we're returning to the idea of the perfect solution here, where we're dreaming up this unovercomable hurdle. Oh, we can't do anything. We can't stop them from ruining our stuff. Why? Well, because we don't have an omnipotent, all-knowing super being that can figure out every problem and know exactly the correct answer. Well, shit. Yeah, no, we don't. Nor are we going to, which is, why, again, I am that moral arbiter, as are you, as is everybody else, as is with the previous example. Should I gatekeep my friends that I dearly love and have been there for me in my darkest hour? No. You are the moral arbiter on what you wish to gatekeep. And then we will simply argue in the public forum to see who comes out ahead. Right now, it appears to be my side.
The term gatekeep your hobbies is flawed because there are no boundaries on what gatekeeping actually is.
Again, I've already gone over that.
What it means, how one would do it. Therefore, it devolves.
Well, actually, no, there absolutely is. I've already gone over that. Again, it's changing the culture, and what standards you apply, well, it's up to you. We've recently had a big row, for example, of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and what standards should be applied to it, and what exactly is woke and what is not woke, how little is too much, and so on, which is an interesting discussion in and of itself.
Evolves into a form of being a dickhead and bullying to keep people out who share different ideas than you. And if you've watched my
Well, there's exactly the problem. Again, we did not start this confrontation. When you say have different ideas than you, well, that is describing the initial process of gatekeeping, where the left moves into corporations and says, listen, I am a member of marginalized communities. I feel under attack. I need to be represented. And as we were all back then feeling like, oh God, you're being attacked for being gay? That's terrible. How can we help you? Because that was the standard response. They began to accrue power and influence. Eventually, this grew from, say, for example, a Pride Month to a Pride Week and so on and so on. Or, well, from a Pride Week to a Pride Month. That's the other way around. This then allowed them to come up with a whole lot of special rules and regulations. Like, for example, now it's common to have website TOSs mentioned protected groups. The very existence of a protected group means that you have an elite organization grouping within your communities that are somehow worth more, that must be protected to a greater degree than others. For reasons of, well, largely political reasons, rationales. That's what I was looking for. These people then created rules on, say, forums, for example. No hate speech. Okay, what is the definition of hate speech? Whatever you want, in essence. The recent Kingdom Come Deliverance, again, TOS update, where they would have been fine by simply saying, no politics, no religion. Instead, they say that, and then go on to say, okay, nothing right-wing, but everything left-wing is okay. Or the recent Trench Crusade, for example, where yet again, you have a fandom that was created from the ground up by individuals who hated one particular side of the political divide, and made that very clear by banning everyone in opposition to them, while stating very obviously that in this setting, where Satan himself and his hordes are invading Earth, Christianity are not the good guys or aspirational. Once more, we did not start this conflict. We do not ask for this fight. We were the ones aggressed upon, and all we are doing now is launching a counter-argument.
Channel at all, that ideology in and of itself is the antithesis of truth. Because to seek truth is to ask questions and to be able to disagree with those who have differing opinions than you. But okay,
Okay, fair enough. But what then happens when the person you disagree with says, nice point, bro, here's a 5-month ban? What do? You do nothing. You've lost. The person you disagree with had more institutional power than you. The only way you can get around that is by changing the institutional power itself, by changing culture, by building alternatives, by, well, seeing what has happened on Twitter, for example.
I know where the root of this is really from. You want to keep ideologues and activists out of your entertainment, right? Like, that's what this really comes down to?
Correct.
Let's bully the woke bastards out of our media?
Accurate.
What if I told you that doesn't work? What if I told you this is a moot point? Let's bully the woke bastards out of our media?
Yes, I would say, have you looked out the window recently? Have you seen recent video game history? You know, bullying the woke bastards out of our hobbies appears to be working a treat, frankly. The companies that have embraced them are largely crashing. The video games that have embraced wokeist ideology are also largely crashing. And those companies that do not, or even companies like China, for example, as much as they are a flawed bastard source of this, seem to be thriving. Yeah, bullying people appears to be working fantastically so far.
Ours? Yours? Mine? Theirs? Whose? It's not ours at all. Star Wars is not ours. It's not yours. Star Trek is not yours. Doctor Who is not yours.
I know what this point is. But you don't own this thing? You think I care? Listen, I don't give a shit who the IP holder of Star Wars is. I don't give a shit who the IP holder of Star Trek or 40K is. I will simply go, I think what you're doing is dumb and gay, and I'd like you to stop it. And they go, okay, well, we disagree. I'm then going to get on my platform and agitate for them being dumb and gay until they crash and burn, or they change. I don't give a shit who owns it. I have my influence, and that is all anyone has. We have our voices. We live in an age of unprecedented access to platforms and the ability to say whatever we wish to say. Use it.
Lord of the Rings is not mass is not yours to change that. Disney kicks the castle down because he wants to throw a fit and because he's an entitled prick. Guess what? There's nothing for you or I to do. It's his.
And yet, Disney is changing their tune right now. The Acolyte flopped and was cancelled after a single season. Disney removed trans storylines from that silly little baseball animation they were working on. The Disney animated Pixars have been specifically told to not introduce ideology in their entertainment. I don't know what reality you live in, but no, we seem to have plenty of influence.
His sandbox. We're at his house, and it's the summer of 1997, and people haven't figured out that sandboxes have carcinogens, silica in that sand exist. And when you signed up for Disney Shield, others out from are not yours to claim. But let's talk about those activists and woke moralists that you want to gatekeep away. Would you be surprised to know that they feel just like you?
No. Not at all, because I know they were the ones who attacked us first. Why? Well, for largely Gramscian narratives. The idea was to begin to change the Western society from the bottom. They were doing what I am doing now, which is why I know it works damn well, but from the opposite side. They moved into entertainment because they knew it was one of the easiest places to influence larger cultural change. Instead of using their own voices, however, as we are doing now, they went directly to the source. Because the left likes institutional power. It does not like personal power, it likes the collectivist power. And therefore said, hey, I am a protected group, you must protect me. I am being attacked by the evil white supremacists out there. They could never quite point to them, but it was a sufficiently engaging narrative for them to be given power. Then over years and years, they expanded their power base until now we have people in Britain getting arrested for mean tweets. They have been extraordinarily successful, yet again proving the somewhat ridiculous point of this doesn't work thoroughly moot.
A few days ago, the entire staff of BioWare was let go. We now know that all of the writers who... Wait, would you be surprised to know that they feel just like you? A few days ago, the entire staff of BioWare was let go.
Okay. You're not very deep into gaming, are you? No, the entire staff of BioWare was not let go. The writing staff was let go, and the studio itself was severely trimmed, but it could also just be a misspeak.
We now know that all of the writers who worked on Dragon Age Veilguard are no longer with the company. Veilguard is one of the most left-leaning ideological video games ever released ever.
Well, that might be overselling the point a little bit, but I get the idea.
Focusing on a plotline that directly deals with microaggressions, transgender ideology, and misgendering. And it was such a colossal failure that the entire studio has been decapitated and is being re-engineered. Now, would you be surprised to hear that the customers who wanted those ideologies to be included in these games are feeling betrayed that these developers are being let go?
Of course they are. Again, they're doing the exact same agitation. I am simply on the other side of this divide. I am utilizing their tactics, but from an individualist standpoint and to far greater effect. But I don't see why this argument is, relevant? Hey, did you know that you have opposition and that they're losing and that they're upset? Yes, I quite enjoy it, in fact.
Roll the clip.
Because Veilguard chose to represent, I guess. I don't know. However, It's just a lot. It's just a whole lot. Because now I'm in a position where I don't think BioWare is on my side.
Good.
And that's... I'm in a position now where for the first time, I don't think BioWare has the right intentions.
Good.
BioWare is not on your side? BioWare doesn't have the right intentions? BioWare and EA don't care that you're breathing. You think corporations are on your side? They're not. They never, ever have been. All the virtue signaling and ideology that was put into Veilguard may have been penned and animated by activists, sure, but they only got into those seats to do that because their corporate masters thought it was going to make them profits.
Okay, so this argument is outdated by about 20 years about now. So there is no executive in there going, we need to have wokeism, hire that wokeist person to write our characters. No, they were told by the people within the studio. These are the same agitators that entered in immediately going, hey, you know what would be, we gotta back up these people. We have vulnerable groups out there, and this is really hip with the kids right now. Here, let me show you this study that most people actually want way more representation in video games. This will earn us so much money. And the investor then goes like, okay, sure, you're the creative, right? You know what to do. Go on with that. That is the actual reality. The corporate money bags don't give a shit, but they do take advice from the people who are in there. As you just said, the entire writing team were wokeists. And so when the money bag asks what sells, they're not going to say, well, you know, my favorite ideology really sucks and is deeply unpopular with the masses. We should probably do just big tits and asses. Instead, they're going to go, no, actually, listen. We are so close to a breakthrough here, okay? If we just go like Star Wars the Acolyte and double down on all of the woke, if we just go full ham, then the wider audience will finally flood to our defense. And it never happens, because they do not have the culture behind them. They did not win the larger cultural argument as to who made the better entertainment.
Now they know that misgendering in video games doesn't sell. Concord with their ugly characters doesn't sell. Mega IPs like Star Wars don't sell just for the fact it's Star Wars anymore. They need to get good again, or the Western buyers will flock to Chinese products without hesitation. Corporations are not out for you. They have never been on your side. People see that.
Correct. But again, that's why we're changing culture. How is this relevant to gatekeeping?
Clip and laugh. I see that clip and it makes me sad. You know why? Because that was me. That was me on December 15th, 2017 at 6 p.m. in an AMC movie theater in New Jersey, who had to drive home telling myself it's all going to be okay. They're going to make it right, everyone. Everyone's going to be okay. Dave Filoni's going to get involved. They're going to fix it all. And you know what? They never did. And they never will. People are going to see this and think that I'm white knighting or defending woke moralists or ideologues.
I think I know where this is heading. Okay, so we're gonna have to bring up Jonathan Haidt's moral foundations again. A key distinction between those who would describe themselves as right-wing, conservative, and left-wing progressive. It is a differentiation on what we value the most along various moral foundations, one of which is the care-harm foundations. This is the one that is valued by far the most by left-leaning individuals and progressives. This foundation will essentially place the well-being of others, the care, above virtually anything and everything, which is why we might have a situation where somebody who looks at a situation like this, I was hurt by Star Wars, will then look at an individual who was themselves, well, cheering on the changes made there, out with the old, in with the new, and going, well, I feel for this person, they're in pain too. It is a overload of empathy, which is an admirable thing to have, of course, but, well, it's not going to help anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to somehow reduce the amount of suffering in the world, unless you just want to pile it on yourself, unless you want to be the bike cuck, in essence. Well, you know, they may have ruined Star Wars, and that hurt me pretty bad, but I imagine the people who ruined Star Wars really, really enjoyed dragging its corpse through the street, so the total happiness in the world has increased. I am not in agreement with that sentiment.
I'm not. I don't care about that. That's not the point. I'm trying to say, We're all being lied to. And we all think we have some marvelous claim to say who or what can be in our little fake community that likes similar things. But no one ever considers the fact that we have no true claim on those things. I don't care who you are, or what you believe, or what your identity is. I don't care about changing society, or the culture, or politics.
Well, there you go. Get the fuck out of my way. Because I do.
I care about the individual. I care about the person who's looking for a way to have a creative outlet. I care about the person who finds inspiration to be a better person because they heard a story of someone like Luke Skywalker. I care about the kid who uses video games as escapism because his life at home is a nightmare. And who the hell am I to tell them that they're lesser than because we don't see eye to eye on make-believe that's owned by a mega corporation?
Nailed it. Goddamn. Nailed it on the head. Yes. An overload on the Care Foundation. See, here's the thing. You care about the individual. Somebody might be hurt if I make entertainment better. A progressive might feel pain if I take away all of their transgenderism from Star Wars. Tough. That is my response. I do not give a shit about some progressive who might be disappointed about this. I don't even care about the potential make-believe child who was escaping in progressivists' entertainment somehow, apparently. What I care about is the communities. It is the hobby. It is the franchise, about the greater thing. Well, partially because I would also argue, of course, that a lot more people are going to be a lot more interested in it if it's actually good, which can be seen by the fact that even mega franchises now are no longer a guarantee for success, as people are turning their back on Star Wars, realizing that it's, well, not Star Wars anymore. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I place far greater value on what I view as the good of the setting, something that can be enjoyed by tens of thousands, millions of people, than our theoretical child who's having mummy beat daddy.
If we don't like megacorporations telling us how to think and feel that we're scum of the earth for existing, it's hypocritical to do that to someone else.
No. I will simply just attack the megacorporation and tell them, no, you don't get to do that. And I will change reality to fit my ideology. Literally what I'm doing. It's what the left did to us. It is what we are doing to them right now. No. And again, this all boils down to choose kindness. Nope. Shut up. Get the fuck out of my way. Again, that's literally what it boils down to. You don't care about it. You view it as make-believe, make-up that is irrelevant because somebody might be hurt. Well, I disagree. And since you don't care about it...
Disagree, discuss, make friendly. They may never, ever, 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 ever reciprocate. They may not share anything like that. They may not be friendly to you. I'm not saying that they will be. But you can sleep knowing you did the right thing. And you're gonna need sleep because those sandbox carcinogens...
Listen. Surrender. Your enemy will not reciprocate. Your enemy will not accept your surrender. Your enemy will continue stepping on your neck until you die. But at least you can sleep. God damn it. It is bike cuck. It is actually bike cuck.
Pigeons have done a lot of damage to your DNA. Friends, if you enjoyed this video and you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button.
Okay, I think that's more or less all of it. Well, that was sort of an argument. It's more than I've gotten from the progressives, which simply just say, yeah, no, we are gatekeeping you, and we are gatekeeping you in particular, because we do not believe you have the right to be here because we disagree with your opinions and your politics. Okay. This is more a, hey, somebody else might be hurt and your movement is not perfect, so, we can't do it. You don't own the thing. Well, yeah, this is all limp-wristed nonsense in my opinion. So what if I don't own it? I can still claim it, I can still stake my flag in it, I can still do my darndest to change the culture surrounding it. And together with 100, 1,000 other people, 100,000 people, even on this channel alone, we can change it. We are the orcs. We have the power to literally change reality if we choose to do so, as can be demonstrated simply by looking at reality as it is now. It is beginning to reflect our values far more so than the progressives. So, I think I'm going to roundly and universally reject this line of reasoning with simply saying, no, and if you don't care, get out of my way. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon.